Hello everyone, welcome to Anna's Violets. On this channel we're talking about plants and gardening, and I'm Anna. I help you grow beautiful and healthy plants. In this video we're going to talk about 10 tips so that you can grow your lush and beautiful Tradescantias, inch plants, and you can grow them into a very abundantly growing, hanging or trailing plants. You can have so many varieties, and the care tips and conditions are all the same for almost all varieties. So I will tell you about my care tips, how I grow them, about their stories. So we will have short story time as well, and we will dive deeply into 10 tips and 10 secrets so that you don't have any problem growing these plants anymore. So many of you have commented under my videos about Tradescantias that I posted before that you have some struggles growing or even propagating them, but it should not be that hard. So I want to show you the propagation of my Tradescantia albiflora nanook here. You can see that the stems are in water, they grow roots, and they're almost ready to be planted. So if you would like to watch a separate video about propagation, I will post the link under this video and also in the description. And here I have my Tradescantia zebrina. This is just one of my plants because I absolutely adore inch plant Tradescantia, and I'm growing it in several pots, also on the balcony. You have maybe seen my multiple videos about this plant as well. But now you can see that it's a little bit leggy, so the stems are a little bit long than they should have been. Not the stems, but actually the intervals, the space between the nodes is longer than it should be. So let's talk about the problems and how to grow them properly. And let me show you one more. This is another one that I have, but you can see that it's in a horrible shape now. This will be all cut off and planted, replanted, repotted, propagated. So this is how your Tradescantias should not look like, all right? So this is a horrible shape. This is the worst way that your Tradescantia can grow. Even though it's flowering here, it's just one tiny flower, but it's in a horrible, horrible shape. So let's dive into the secrets and growing conditions. So, overwatering. Problem number one with these plants is overwatering, because if the plant stays in a soggy soil for a longer period of time, of course, even though this is a very easy plant to grow, but the roots will be rotten, the roots will be damaged, and then you will notice the leaves will be pale, will be drooping, wilted, turning yellow, turning brown or black, everything that you will notice that basically this plant is not healthy. And the reason for it is overwatering. So you need to keep the soil moist enough, but let it also dry a little bit, just a little bit, not bone dry, of course. Don't let it get bone dry, but try to also keep it a little bit slightly moist. Number two is underwatering. Of course, these plants have very thin leaves, and this means that they need slightly different conditions, different frequency of watering than, for example, this ficus lyrata here. Because here the leaves are very thick. This means that it contains a lot of water in it, and it will not be damaged immediately from underwatering, which is still a problem, but these plants can tolerate underwatering a little bit better than the plants with slightly thinner leaves. And so for this Tradescantia, underwatering can be a serious problem because it can get dry immediately within a couple of days, especially if you grow it outside, especially in the summer when the temperatures are high, the air humidity is low, and yeah, these plants can suffer a lot from underwatering as well. Number three, and you can see its consequence on this plant, which is again looking pretty sad, and even this one that still looks pretty nice and beautiful, but basically the problem here is low light. It's insufficient light. So they need very bright indirect sunlight, a little bit of sun also, I would say, in the morning when it's not the really strongest burning sun. That should be fine. But this is definitely a sign of low light, because you can see that the stems are leggy, not so nicely growing, I would say, and they're a little bit even weaker. So make sure that you grow them in a very bright indirect sunlight. Ideally, if you grow them indoors, bring them as close as possible to the windowsill, and ideally you even grow them outdoors, be it outside of your window, on your terrace, patio, garden, or even balcony. And this can be very nice trailing plants or hanging plants. So as soon as it grows a little bit longer, the stems will be hanging. Number 4 is direct burning sunlight. Even though you may grow these plants outside, but try to grow them in kind of a semi-shade, or basically in a place where you don't really have sun directly on them, but it's still very bright. And as soon as you notice that there are some brown spots on the leaves everywhere, it's most probably the sun is burning them. So move them a little bit away from the direct sunlight, not in the shade, but try to find this balance when you have indirect sunlight, but also not direct sunlight. Number 5, low humidity. These plants like to have very high air humidity. So you will have problem growing these plants if the air is not humid enough for these plants. You can also increase the air humidity by using air humidifier or using trays with water that you can put around this plant and evaporating. This will create kind of a humid environment for this plant. But basically you can definitely notice that the plant is struggling a little bit if you have very hot summers and the air is not humid enough for them. Mealybugs, spider mites are problem number 6, basically pests. These plants can be also damaged significantly by pests, especially spider mites, because I think it's very easy not to notice them, but they will be everywhere, on the leaves, under the leaves, on the stems, even on the soil. But it's also very easy to get rid of them, because you can also wash your Tradescantias, your inch plants, with soapy water, neem oil, regularly, once a week, once in 2 weeks. And if you repeat it for a couple of times, usually you will get rid of pests. But definitely pay attention to it, because if you see some sort of cobweb around the leaves or some dots, some damages on the leaves, most probably you have some sort of pests. So look under the leaves, on the stems, and especially between the nodes, you will see them. Other diseases also, fungal, bacterial diseases, can also damage Tradescantias. And what you can do is basically, whenever you see something wrong with the leaves, try to remove the affected, the damaged leaves, so that if it's fungal or bacterial disease, it will not spread to the whole, to the other parts of the plant. If you still have some healthy stems, healthy parts of your plant, try to also propagate it, because if it's fungal or bacterial disease, it can spread very quickly and then you will lose the whole plant. And it's still possible to treat fungal diseases, but with bacterial diseases it's a little bit difficult, and it spreads quite fast, and there is actually nothing that you can really do about it. Try to, of course, put the plants separately, isolate the plant from your other plants, because these diseases can also spread to the rest of your plants. But any of your plants, immediately isolate the plant and then try to figure out what's wrong with it, be it a fungal disease, pests, anything else. You will figure it out later, but especially this period when something is wrong with your plant, it may be pest, disease, bacterial, fungal, whatever, it can spread very fast to other plants as well. So try to isolate them. Nutrient deficiencies is the problem number 8. These plants like to be fertilized, so starting from March, you can start fertilizing your plants every 2 weeks or once a month. And personally, I like to use liquid fertilizers, because for me it's easier. I dilute it with water, and then when it's time to water my plants, I have a reminder that this is the day for fertilizing, and then I fertilize all of my plants in one day. But basically, they really like to be fertilized, in contrast to this plant. Problem number 9, root bound. These plants grow very fast, and a plant of this size will be root bound in like 2-3 months. So I don't really mean that you need to repot the plant in every 2-3 months, but definitely once a year try to repot it, because you will see that the pot will be full with roots, and if they do not have more place to grow, they will be basically suffering, not growing, not blooming. So definitely, even if you will not increase the size of the pot when you repot it every year, but try to at least refresh the soil, and also maybe cut all rotten, old roots. Even if you just cut the roots in half, this plant will still grow wonderfully. You will not damage Tradescantias if you damage a couple of roots, so it will be still fine. And let's finish with problem number 10, low temperature. Even though these plants are very easy to grow, but low temperatures can significantly damage them. I've seen again people who put their Tradescantias on their balconies or bring them outside as soon as they see a little bit of more sun in the spring, in March. But if at night you still have low temperatures, this can significantly damage your plant, and you can see that just in the morning you will go to look at your plant and you will see that it's completely rotten. Not even rotten, but it will get basically frozen and all the stems will be damaged. Even you won't be able to save it. So if it drops below 10 degrees, I would say it's very dangerous, and be careful with it. Maybe wait for a couple of days before you bring them outside. And also, when you grow them outside, bring them indoors, bring them inside in the autumn when you know that the temperatures may be a little bit fluctuating, it gets a little bit colder, so let's not risk it. If you have any other tips or any questions, any specific problems that you have growing these plants, please write them down in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. Stay passionate about plants.